My name is Matthew Buck. I'm the Director of Player Management at the Professional Footballers Association. Basically, fundamentally, player management is an enhancement or an internal service of player representation. So, whereas the PFA represent all its members on a general basis, reactively a lot of the time to issues or problems they may have, player management department is fundamentally an internal player agency where we're proactively representing players on a daily basis. The statistics aren't great with regards to the fallout rate or the rates of success for younger players. I think at the age of 16, I think 50% of players fall out the game. By the age of 21, I think 90% of players have fallen out of the game that were entered at academy level, and I think it's only around 2% actually go on to have careers of 4 years or longer. So obviously the first one is perseverance with regards to it. A lot of the players, younger players, have been chasing the dream since probably 8 years of age, maybe affiliated with academy systems and then onto scholarships. But it is a very low success rate with regards to actually having a long-term career in football. So definitely perseverance for the players then who are potentially released or struggle. Then it's not the end of the world. We do hear of players, on a regular basis that fall out of the professional system and end up, coming back. It's a more difficult route, but I think players, sort of well-known player at the moment, regards who followed that route is Jamie Vardy, who was released, from a club at a young age, went back through, played for Stocksbridge, onto Halifax, then onto Fleetwood, and obviously onto Leicester in England. So he's won the Premier League at 29 and now playing for England in the European Championship. So perseverance is a strong characteristic whether you're in the professional system or you fall out of the professional system. And probably dedication as much as anything. The players that I've known that have been most successful or had successful careers have really dedicated themselves both on and off the pitch. I think a lot of players sometimes feel that when they sign maybe the first professional contract or even a scholarship that they are a professional footballer or they're in that environment that they've made it. And I think really the dedication really starts at that point. I think then to apply themselves in a way that gives them the best opportunity. I think until you've played probably 50 games plus for a team, only then are you probably at a stage where you will develop into a professional player. I still think that managers and coaches are still making decisions, before you've kind of hit that mark with regards to where your future may lie, and also what level your future may lie is probably determined in that first 50 games of making your debut. I think the professional game is difficult, but like I say, the talent pool is only, the talent pool resource-wise in this country is huge, but the actual opportunity is very limited. Even though we have one of the biggest, leagues in the world, with 92 professional teams and a very strong semi-league scheme system within the pyramid in professional football. So we also have probably the best resources or some of the best resources in the world when it comes to facilities, but it is very, elitist with regards to the opportunity, and the standards are very high at every level, and that starts at academies at 8 years of age. But while the opportunity doesn't seem to be there for a lot of people, I think it is. I just think the levels that are required are, hugely high. They're not impossible, as I've mentioned before, with other players who fall out the system, but academies are looking at a very high standard at a very young age, but football clubs are probably operating on as big a staff as they've ever operated in the past. And the resource to the scouting, to the academies, to worldwide scouting, not just domestic scouting, is huge. And that's, financially and regards to facilities. So whilst I know maybe teenagers do feel that the opportunity isn't there, you'd be surprised how large those scouting systems are and what they are actually, viewing. Like, so much of it's now done visually as well, whereas when I started the Professional Football Association a long time ago now, it was scouts physically going out to games on a regular basis, but now, the way that technology is developed, etc., games are recorded continuously, all throughout every age group, and video analysis is made. Clubs have a large team of analysts now, going through not just at the professional level, but at a young age. So whilst it seems like it's very hard to break in, I think it's just the level is very high. But the actual detail with regards to, the scouting systems and the attention to detail and finding the talent, I think that is there. It just maybe doesn't appear to be there for younger players. probably disagree. I think we've got one of the strongest leagues in the world in the WSL. We've got 2 divisions, which, you know, even the NWSL in America has 9 franchise teams. We run, you know, 9 WSL teams and then a further 10 teams in WSL 2. So again, it's growing, it's developing the game. Unfortunately, still there's only, I think, 7 now of the clubs are professional, full-time professional. So even in the top division, not all teams in the division are classed as professional. So to get to that standard is difficult. But at the same time, if you take it back again, maybe like the men's game going back 20 years, and the game is developing very quickly. The FA are heavily resourcing, you know, the grassroots of women's football, the development side that's improved since the formation of St George's Park and the England age groups, you know, from a younger age building up to the under-23s and the senior squad. I think for the first time as well, maybe there's players that the young girls can aspire to, whereas maybe you speak to players that I know in the current England team and their role models in the game were men a large part of the time, whereas now after, you know, the success of the World Cup last year, finishing 3rd, more sort of mainstream television programmes, BBC carried the World Cup as a WSL show on a weekly slot, BT are covering it. So I think, you know, younger players now will see that, you know, the Steph Ortons, the Tony Duggans, these kind of players now that gain a lot of attention. The Aniela Luco's covering European Championships on TV as well. So they're very much in the public domain, the players now, and hopefully that will give younger girls sort of a belief that there is an opportunity for them to have careers within football. I know the players are keen to push that agenda. And like I say, the FA is really pushing it at grassroots level. Hopefully we're pushing it at professional level. But I think all the stakeholders within the game would like to see the game continue to develop, and, you know, we will see hopefully more and more, you know, girls that are participating move into, you know, higher elite level. I think regardless of age or gender, I think it is important that parents are very aware of the pitfalls of being a professional footballer in regards to, you know, as we talk about, you know, the success rates or the fallout rates, you know, of players at a young age, both men and women. I think also you've always got that danger of a serious injury, you know, just your general form and development in general. So to me, you know, from a young age, whether you come into an academy system in the men's side at 8 years old, or, you know, as you go through into a scholarship side, or even a young pro, or in the women's game again, you're associated with a club, I think it's vitally important that parents make sure the player continues with their education, you know, continuously. I think we've seen a long time, you know, for a long time that players become so focused on becoming a professional footballer, it becomes the main goal. They're playing, you know, 5 times a week, 7 times a week, and education puts a little bit to one side. And I think it's vitally important, both for the parent and for, you know, the youngster, whether it's boy or girl, regardless of gender, that they maintain an education. Because, like I say, not everybody is fortunate to make a living out of football or be able to retire from football and not have to work again. I know that's what the media creates, that attention to the rich and the famous, but I think, you know, for the large part, the majority of players that even play at the professional level for a long time and have successful careers, they will have to have a transition into a secondary career post-football. That transition's a lot easier if you've got, you know, GCSEs, A-levels, you know, vocational qualifications, or even as you are playing at a young age or through your career, that you may be maintaining your coaching badges or following a coaching route if that's of interest to you, which obviously is for a lot of players to stay within the game. But the thing I would say is very much education. Not lose sight of your goals within football itself, but, you know, to have that education for either the transition, your secondary career, or if you don't become as successful as you would like and come out of the game, unfortunately. The PFA is open to, obviously, professional players. You become a member of the PFA once you become a professional footballer. But what we've introduced over the last few years is a parent advisory service, which is open for young people, boys and girls, from ages 8 through to 16. So sort of the professional level. There's a helpline number and a booklet that the PFA can send out. The information's on the PFA website, pfa.com. And there's a guy in that department called George Bowyer who's there to give advice and guidance on the rules and regulations, which are complicated even in that age group. You know, once a player has become a professional or a scholar at a club, then they are open to have all the full range of benefits that PFA members have in all areas of the career. So, but the advice service is there, independent, to help parents, help players at a young age. I think I mentioned previously, to me it's dedication and perseverance, not losing enjoyment. I think, you know, you've got to enjoy what you do in any job in order to be successful at it, but at a young age, whether you're male or female, then it's to dedicate yourself to the profession, isolate yourself sometimes from the trappings of being a teenager and some of the pitfalls that younger players have experienced, where your peers and your friends are going out, maybe having a good time, having a drink at that kind of age, or out late. You've got to dedicate yourself and be very disciplined with regards to giving yourself the best opportunity, looking after yourself, you know, looking after your health, looking after the amount of sleep you get every night, being ready to go every day. Give yourself your best in training, because I think, you know, managers, coaches are assessing you all the time, not just on the pitch, but how you conduct yourself off the pitch. And the modern day footballer has to be a model professional outside of the game and how they conduct the lifestyle, and that really gives an impression then to what they'll be like as a player. You know, attention to detail in everything that you do. But I can't say dedication enough. And like I say, the other side is to maintain education, just in case the dream doesn't happen, that you have something to fall back on. You know, you have a secondary career option. You know, if there's a transition outside of football, if that is, you know, A-levels degrees, or whether that is a coaching route or physiotherapy, you know, being a professional sports person probably opens doors to you and gives you greater opportunity. So again, dedication, that's probably the biggest word I could say, and discipline.